This video is a bit of a tutorial that I said that I would do for some shop teachers that I've met that are over in the US. So I'm going to do a basic little side table in SketchUp for schools in Imperial measurements. Now these are the closest approximations to the actual size table that I use at my school with my students. When you first come into SketchUp with schools, you will see your fella standing here near the axis points. He allows you to get some sort of scale to what you're drawing. If you don't want him there, you can get rid of him. I'll just leave him there. And when you come into SketchUp for schools, you have menus on both sides of the screen. On the left hand side of the screen, you've got usually you start out with your select tool that allows you to select each of your objects. You've got your eraser tool, you've got your paint tool for filling in colors once your project is built. You got your pencil line tool, which just is a random line. You can do them straight or crooked or that sort of thing. As you can see these here. I rarely use this at all. You then got your arc tools. This is the most common tool that I'd find you'd be using because you start out with your rectangles, your circles, your polygons, some of your text. You got your push-pull tool for making things solid. The outer shell tool I don't think I've ever used. You got your move tool, and it's got a couple of options in it as well. Your measurement tool, your walkthrough tool, which is more for if you do something where once you've finished building something, especially larger projects, you can walk your way around it. And then you have your pan and your orbit and your move tools. Your pan one allows you to move your screen in linear motions, and then your orbit tool allows you to rotate around the project. On the right hand side, you've got a whole stack of other menus here which go deeper into the options that you have in SketchUp. There's a instructor tool which gives you some basic instructions on how to use it as well. But the main thing that you want to come down to on this one is this one down the bottom, second from the bottom, the model info. If you click on that, you get a menu that pops out, and this gives you the units that you're going to be using in your drawing. If you're using Imperial measurements, you could do it in fractions or you could do it in decimal imperials. Let's stick with fractions. And then you've got your precision down here. Now for the project I'm drawing, I think I'm only going to need a 1/4 inch as my precision because I don't think I'm going to get into any finer details. If I come unstuck a little bit later on, you'll know this will be why, but I'm pretty sure 1/4 is going to be as precise as I need to be. I can now get that to sit off to the side. Now, one thing I try and tell my students is that don't think of this as just a drawing tool. Think of this as a virtual space where you are going to build your 3D object or your virtual object. Because we're going to build our table, whenever you're going to build something in real life, you need your materials. So what we need to do is create the materials that are going to be part of our project. The end or side table that I want to do is going to be all out of solid timber, and the sizes of the boards as the closest approximation to our 140 by 19 would be 5.5 inch by 3/4 inch. Now if you take 5.5 inches as the width of the board, and I want to make this square without trimming down those boards, if I take 3 of those boards, that is going to get me up to a 16.5 inch wide tabletop. So that's how long my board needs to be. Now I'm going to start drawing my boards. I get my rectangle tool, come down. Now I click once, but I don't hold onto the mouse. So I click and then I start moving my mouse and it starts to draw my board. Now you can see down in the bottom right hand side of the screen, you'll see some dimensions there, and I can see that the narrowest side is the first measurement down there. So my board is 5.5 inches, so I'll go 5 space and a half, and then I put a comma in. Now I said my board was going to be 16.5 inches long, so I type in 16 space half, Now, as soon as I press enter, there's the dimensions of that board. If I zoom in here, now I'm zooming by scrolling the button on my mouse. That's just a flat board at the moment. It's almost like a sheet of metal. I need to give that some thickness. Now our boards at school are 19mm thick, which is roughly 3/4 of an inch. So I get my push-pull tool, come over here. As soon as you see those dots, it's going to select that if you click the mouse. Now I'm going to click but not hold the mouse button, and I can then drag. I don't need to drag it to 3/4 because I can type in 3/4 and press enter, and it's given me my board. We need to now make this a board in this virtual space so that nothing else happens to it. So get your selection tool, come over to it, clicking quickly with 3 clicks, like a triple click, completely selects the board. If you then right click, you get a menu, and I want to turn this into a component. I go make component, and I call this my top, and just say OK. Now if I grab this board, it will move the whole board. Now just as an example here, I'm going to make another board next to it. Now with this one, if I now grab the move tool and come over here, it's going to distort it. It's not going to move the whole board. So that's why you need to create components. Now I said this was going to be 3 boards wide. I don't need to draw this again. If I click and select it, and just like any other Windows tool, you could use Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste. So I'll go Control-C and then Control-V. There's my other board. You could also right click on the board and you'll see these ones up the top. There's copy, right click anywhere, there's paste. Now I need to make these boards all put together so that I have a tabletop. I'm going to select the board I want to move, then I grab the move tool and I want to grab the corner of the board. Click but don't hold and go towards the other one, and it lines up with the endpoint on the other one. Grab the selection tool, select this one so I can move it, get the move tool, grab the corner, snap it to the endpoint. Now if I grab the selection tool, I can just drag all the way around it and that'll select all of them, or you can select them one at a time while holding the control key to select them all. If I now go right click, I say make group. It has now attached those all together so that when you click on them, they all are together. And now if I move them, I'm moving the whole thing. So I've made my top. Zoom out a bit. Now I want to make the legs of this table. Based on the closest measurement to what I would build at school, my legs would be, one piece would be 70 by 19, which is basically 2 3/4 inches by 3/4 inches. So I get my rectangle and I start drawing the dimension that I want to have, or the direction I want it to have. Now I can see that my longest dimension now is the first one, and I said 2 3/4, comma, by 3/4. Zoom in on that. And my table here in Australia is 500 tall, which is about 19.5 inches tall. It's a little bit more than that, but I'm going to make this 19.5. So I grab my push-pull, start dragging it. I'm not holding the mouse button again, and I say 19, what did I say, 19.5. Now let's go 19 3/4, that's closer. 19 3/4. There's my full leg. If I zoom out, there it is. I now need to make that a component as well. Triple click, right click, make component. This is my leg 1. My other leg needs to come in this direction, and so that this looks like it's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, I need a 2-inch board this way. So I grab my rectangle tool, start drawing a board in this direction. So 3/4 is my first dimension with a 3/4 with a comma, and then 2-inch. Push pull, bring it up, and I said 19 3/4 inch. Triple click, right click, leg 2. I now need to get these two attached together. So I grab my move tool, grab it from the corner, line it up with the corner. I then want to make that into a group. So holding the control key, that adds that one as well, right click, make a group. Now you can see that it's got a big box around the whole thing, so that no matter what I do, I'm going to be moving both of them together. I don't want to have to go through all that drawing again, so I can do my control copy, so control C, then control V for paste. There's another one, there's another one, there's another one. Now I need to flip these around to the desired design that I want. So selecting one of the legs, this one is going to be opposite to this one. So I right click and you'll see a flip along menu here. Where it says groups red, groups green, groups blue, they're the axes that you see on the screen when you first come onto it. So this one, I'm going to be flipping it along the red axis. And now this one is a mirror image of this. Now if I do the same with these, this one I want to flip along the green axis. This one flip along the green axis. And now this one flip again along the red axis. So that's a mirror of that. Now I want to have this tabletop overhanging a little bit. It's 16 and a half inches square. These two are 2 3/4, which means that they're 5.5 inches. If I subtract 5.5 inches from 16.5, that leaves me with 11 inches. So if I was to put an 11-inch board in between these two, they would line up exactly on the ends. I think I want to have about 1.5 inches overhang on both sides. So that's 3 inches. Take 3 inches off 11 inches, leaves me with 8 inches. So my board in between these, my rail, is going to be 8 inches long. So let's draw my rails. I start coming this way. I can see my longest dimension first, so that needs to be 8, comma, and it's a 3/4 inch board. And then I want it to be the same width as this is, because if I was ripping down this material in the classroom, I don't want to be doing too many rips. At the moment, that doesn't need to be touched. This does, and this does. So if I make it 2 3/4, because I think that's a nice looking thickness, grab my push pull, type in 2 space 3/4, Now I need to make that into a component. And that's my rail. I need 4 of these, so Control C for copy, Control V for paste, V, Control V. I got my 4 rails. Now I can start assembling my legs and my rails. If I select a rail, I'm going to move this corner to meet with this corner. So grab the corner. I'm not holding the mouse, I've just clicked it once. And it's attached. I now want to make this corner and this corner line up, so I need to move the leg. Grab the corner, and it snaps to it. I'm going to now make that a group so I don't mess it up. That can't be pulled apart now. If I grab another rail now, I want to move this one up to here. So I grab this corner, line up to the corner. I select the leg assembly, and so I can see this a bit easier. Grab the corner, snap it to the end. Select the 3 and turn it into a group. Now, before I can do anything with these rails, I need to rotate them. Start out with my selection tool and select the rail. Come down to the move area and there's a rotate option. Get a protractor on here. Get on the midpoint. Come out. Make sure I'm still on the top of my rail and start to move it. Now if I type 90 for 90 degrees, there's my first rail moved. Select my other rail, grab the protractor, make sure it's on the top and you've got the blue protractor. Come out towards the edge, start to rotate it, type in 90, and it's ready to go. Now I can grab the move tool. I want to grab that corner up to here. And then if I grab this assembly, I can grab the corner, bring it to here. I grab the last rail, grab the corner, bring it up to here. Now before I do anything further with these, I don't want this bottom assembly to get pulled apart. So I'm going to select each rail and each leg assembly and turn that into a group. So now this whole thing stays together. Now to get the top up onto here requires a few steps. They're just move steps though. I select the top, and what I want to do is move this point up to this point. So I grab the move tool, grab the bottom corner and bring it up and snap it to the edge. You can see that it's on top of my table. Now I said I wanted a 1.5 inch overhang on both sides. So if I grab the move tool again, this is where you want to watch the axis that you're pulling it on. I click once and start moving. I'm moving on my red axis. I'm going to type in my 1 space ½ inch. So now if you look at that, you'll see that it looks pretty even on its overhang. I now need to do the same on this side. So I grab my move tool, grab my top, start moving it in the green axis and type in my 1 space ½ Now if I just click off so nothing's being held, now if I orbit around, you can see that it looks fairly even in all directions. Now at the moment it's pretty dull looking because it's just a black and white drawing. So now you come over to paint and you'll see the menu that popped out on the other side. There's a lot of different paint colours, and there's even timber colours when you go searching through the libraries, but right for now I am going to paint my legs of this black, and the top's going to be a bit of a wood colour. Now you can see that that's given it a little bit of life, and it looks, I think, to be in scale to our cowboy mate here. So SketchUp for Schools, free web-based tool to use, but just make sure if you use it, talk about that whole building in the virtual space with the materials you have, and that way the students can visualize their project a lot better by using materials that you might have available. Now these are the materials that I have available, or close approximations to it, rather than kids just going, I'm going to make one big square 16.5 by 16.5, 3/4 thick, and then you say, well, do we have that material? It needs to be made up out of these 3 boards. Hope this has been helpful, and if you're into metric, I've also got a metric version of this video. Thank you.